All right. Hello and welcome to the Day One Patch Podcast, episode 527. I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. Matt Lawrence joining us with all the lights on.
That's right.
But nobody's
lights that
home.
haven't seen Ignition for a long, long time. I don't know what you call. I don't know how you use the language in that way. Lights that haven't seen power.
When I work in here,
time?
I have the lights on usually.
I like the sentence. I don't know how to use the language in that way.
You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? I don't know the right word.
Ironically, yes, I do know what you mean, which is funnily usually how language works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt, you do have that one lamp next to you, like to your right, by the couch.
Yeah.
That doesn't work anymore, does it?
Well, it had 6 bulbs, and we bought 12. It has like the little ones, and it went through 6 of them in a month. And we bought a different brand and tried that, and it still just kept burning through them. So I don't know what's going on.
Don't they make little LED ones like that, or no?
Honestly, I don't know. It's been a long time. It's just been sitting there.
Just need a new lamp.
Maybe, honestly. It has been rewired as well, so God knows what's going on.
Tim Spence is also here. Very bright room.
Yeah, my lighting setup is different than normal because I came down here and my computer was off and everything because I've been off this week. And I was like, I'm just going to put one light on, and it's not normally the light that I have on. I don't have my backlighting, so it's all very garish.
Yeah.
Don't have my camera settings set.
It's not terribly bright in my room, but like my camera, like its gain is like just like almost maxed out.
Yeah, which kills your frame rate, of course.
And makes it a little more grainy than it should be. But I mean,
yeah.
What's my solution? Get a ring light or get brighter room lights? I don't know.
If you care to invest in it.
Yeah. Like a steel mask because he hasn't used his ring light yet.
I think I have 2, actually.
Dang, he's flexing on us.
Yeah.
2, and I don't know where they are.
Damn it. All right, Matt. You got a video game fun fact for us?
Yeah, I do, actually. Big time, one might even say. So this week I'm going to be talking about a character from Animal Crossing. Tim, you probably are aware of this, talking about that mole guy that comes and talks to you.
Mr. Rossetti.
Mr. Rossetti, or Sonny Rossetti, as his full name is.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, so Sonny Rossetti is an NPC in Animal Crossing series. He first appeared in Animal Crossing for the N64, which was the Japan-only 2001 version. And then he appeared later on the GameCube version internationally. Now, he's a mole who pops out of the ground to scold the player for resetting the game without saving. So if you turn the game off without saving, Rossetti appears the next time that you play, and he delivers a long and intense lecture about what you did wrong, basically. And now in later games, his rants would become more interactive, allowing the player to actually apologize or maybe even deny it or stay silent. However, any of these responses would typically fuel his rage. So it doesn't matter what you said, it just made it worse. Overall, though, his goal was to have players save responsibly, but it was also used as a way to discourage people from save scumming. So his job title it was an agent of the Reset Surveillance Center, or RSC. This is an in-universe organization that was used to, as it sounds, discourage save scumming. Now, I did say he was an agent, so I mean that's a bit of a precursor to what's going to happen here shortly. Because there are certain eras of the Rossetti verse, if you will. So in the GameCube era, he was loud, angry, and unskippable. In the Wii and DS, so that would be Wild World on the DS and City Folk on the Wii, he was a bit more toned down than he was in the GameCube. And in the 3DS era, which is New Leaf, he nearly loses his job. And unfortunately, he kind of gets laid off later on. So what's all that about? So the Rossetti layoff. So New Leaf introduced automatic saving and also less aggressive enforcement for game resets. Nintendo had received feedback from younger players because they found Rossetti too stressful or even too scary to deal with. So in New Leaf, he no longer shows up by default. However, you can re-enable him. You can build the Rossetti Surveillance Center as a public works project, but it's not just as simple as like selecting it out of the plan list. So this is how it works in New Leaf if you want to have Rossetti back. If you turn off your game without saving a few times, he will then, on one of these attempts, appear in his classic form where he's yelling and screaming at you for your actions. And at that point, your assistant, Isabel, will mention that a new public works project has become available, and that's the RSC. You can then construct that building for 368,000 bells, and the RSC will then be available to visit. Now, it's open at weird times, so it's open after 8 p.m. and only on certain days. And when it's actually open and like open for business, I guess, a nearby manhole will be left ajar, and this will allow you to sneak in. Now, inside the center, you will find Sonny and sometimes his more chill brother, Don. Now, Sonny will talk to you and grumble about being underfunded and out of work. And if you actually come back often and kind of get a bit of a rapport with him, he will give you different dialogue options where he opens up and discusses about his job loss and his feelings on the changing world of video games. Now, Don, the more chill brother, will often try to smooth over Sonny's grumpiness with polite explanations. Now, even after the construction of the RSC, resetting your game without saving does not automatically mean that Rossetti will appear to yell at you each time. However, he will do so randomly. So if you reset a few times one time, maybe one day when you show up, he'll be there just yelling at you in the old classic style. Now, he kind of has a job here, so he wasn't like fully laid off. Like he's underfunded, right? His job is kind of going down the tubes, but it's not gone completely. So post New Leaf. So after New Leaf, we had the sort of the COVID Animal Crossing, I guess, New Horizons. Yeah. This was in 2020 on the Nintendo Switch. And Rossetti does not appear in his classic form in this game at all. New Horizons has
COVID got him.
Oh, COVID. No. Don't you worry. He's in the game. So New Horizons has no manual save option. It's all auto saving. So his old job was unfortunately made completely obsolete. However, he is still in the game. He is actually he's the unseen operator of the rescue service feature that lets you teleport back to a safe location if you get lost or stuck on the island. Because when you use it, somebody comes over the radio and it sounds like his gruff voice, and Nintendo has confirmed that is indeed Rossetti. He's been reemployed for the rescue service. And that's that's it. That's a weird little, I don't know if you want to call it Easter egg or weird little story of Sonny and a little bit of Don Rossetti from the Animal Crossing universe.
It's funny how people like become endeared to little things like that in a game series or just any media where it's like they specifically had him in the game to be this like stressful thing, to be like, here's this negative reaction for doing this thing where like, oh, we don't want you to lose your progress, but we also don't want you to save scum. So we're going to like slow down the process by forcing you to interact with this stressed out mole who screams at you for not saving when you turn your game off. And then they like, especially in the older Animal Crossings too, they were very like, some of the villagers were just straight up rude, like super rude to you for no reason. Like they just didn't like you. And it was just part of their like personality, right? Some of them. And it's something that Animal Crossing as a series has like a little bit been critiqued for in the last couple of games, where people have said like a lot of the animals are too nice now. Like everybody just loves you. They love everything that you do. You could never do any wrong. You're the mayor right off the bat in like the recent games and stuff. And they're like, where's the sass? Like I miss the old sassy characters, or the ones that were just kind of mean for no reason, because those are the things that stick in your mind. Mm-hmm. If everyone's just like nice and palatable and whatever, it's like, oh, okay, everyone's kind of just the same flavor. So it's funny how like when you say there were some feedback from players or like young kids who were like getting super stressed out by Rossetti, you know, now they probably think back and they go, man, remember that mole character in Animal Crossing that would like yell at you when you didn't turn off the game right? Like that was crazy. And people will remember that, right? But they don't remember, you know, animal who looks like an elephant in Color Palette 3 who had this name, and they're like, you know, they were nice just like every other animal.
Yeah, the only ones I really remember at all are some of my residents, I guess, from New Leaf. In like New Horizons, I didn't play it as much, but you're right. Like they just kind of felt like people that would just like give you gifts or compliment you or be super nice to you, and so they're really forgettable because they're all like that.
Yeah. So people miss the sass, and so I wonder if like in whatever the next iteration of Animal Crossing will be, if they will kind of, or maybe even just for a couple of characters, like have them be like that old style. Yeah, it is cool that they gave Rossetti a new job though.
Well, it'd be nice if they even like let you, like if they had somebody that was kind of like a grumpy old dude or something, and then you could like warm up to them. Like you could actually put an effort in with this specific like civilian or whatever, and like actually be like, okay, I'll get a rapport with this guy. I'll like prove that I like am respectful, or you know, whatever the situation is. Like, that would be kind of cool. And then you've kind of earned that politeness.
Yeah, exactly. You know, they're a tough nut to crack, but once you get in there, they're a big softy, right? Like, that's a pretty typical character trope.
The Last of Us.
Yeah. Yeah. I like you, man. I didn't play a ton of New Horizon. Like, I got to the point where I could terraform, and then like that's when the game really opens up, and I just kind of stopped playing it at that point. So I didn't really play long enough to see a lot of the mechanics of that game. But I played New Leaf on the 3DS far and away, way more than the more recent one. And in New Leaf, the clothing store, the two Porcupine sisters, Abel and Mabel, I think, is that right? The one is like super like outgoing and bubbly and friendly, and she's the one who runs the store. And then the other, sister, she's the one that makes the clothes, and she's at the back in like in the workspace, right? And usually working on the sewing machine and stuff. And you can always go back to her and try to talk to her, but it always says like ... and she like never really talks to you. And I think it genuinely takes talking to her. If you do it every day, I think it takes like 2 weeks, like 14 or 15 times of interacting with her before it finally says like ... and then it goes to a new text window and it's like ... hi.
Oh,
and
man.
And it's like,
that's cool, though.
You can actually, like, eventually, if you keep talking to her all the time, she does actually start to open up to you. And she's like, I always just worked at the back of the store. Nobody ever really paid me much attention. So I didn't think people really wanted to talk to me. And, you're the first person who's like consistently tried to talk to me and interact with me. So I appreciate it. And I think by the time I stopped playing the game, she's like one of the like people that's the most excited to see you. Because she's not faking it. She's not putting on her like customer service voice. Like, it's genuinely her. And she's like, oh, it's so good to see you. And I just want you to know, like, I really appreciate you always coming by and saying hi to me, even if I'm not always like as energetic or enthusiastic to see you. And it's like, it's such a little thing that they absolutely did not have to put into the game, but it's there for people who are like, let's see what happens, just like the stubborn people. maybe one of these times she'll open up, and then she eventually does, right?
And 2 weeks is quite a while.
Yeah.
Like, how many people, tried for 4 days and were like, okay, this is just a ... thing.
Yeah,
like,
she's doing the same thing every time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a mechanic.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the only reason that I did it was because I read somewhere that someone was like, yeah, if you talk to her enough, she does actually start talking to you. So it's like, oh shit, what's the point? What's the point at which she opens up? And it takes a long time.
Pretty good.
All right, thank you for that, Matt.
Thank you, Ryan.
Moving on to top stories here. This one's kind of funny, actually. Borderlands 4 boss Randy Pitchford, he made a controversial statement about the price of the next Borderlands game. So someone had, I guess, like tweeted at him and said, Randy, this game better not be $80. Don't take that risk. A lot of gamers aren't going to pay $80 and feed this notion of constant increase of the price tag. You are the CEO. You have some say with the price when it comes to your publisher. And then Randy Pitchford responded, A, not my call. B, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen.
Oof.
My local game store had Starlight for Sega Genesis for $80 in 1991 when I was just out of high school working minimum wage at an ice cream parlor in Pismo Beach, and I found a way to make it happen. End quote there. So I guess we'll start there, and then we'll get to kind of his somewhat apology. But how do you guys feel about his response? He's a weird guy.
I think there's like that. There's the blend, right? Of like, obviously the knee-jerk reaction is like, why would you say that? You have to realize, like, in today's climate, that people are able to spend money on luxuries a lot less than they used to be, even a couple of years ago. But at the same time, right, where he's like, oh, if you really care, you'll find a way to make it happen. Like, that is also true. Where, like, when I was a kid, I couldn't buy games all the time, and my parents didn't buy me games all the time. I think if I was lucky, I would get maybe 3 games a year, and like one would be for Christmas and one would be for a birthday. And then like maybe the third one would be that I bought it with my own money that I saved up from other Christmases and birthdays, presents and stuff. Right. So like, I get the sentiment there, but at the same time, with how accessible gaming is now on like so many platforms. There's so much like choice and variety and, you know, methods of like payment to access different games and stuff, that right away just kind of responding to a message like that in kind of a snippy way and being like, that's not my call. And even if it was, I would want you to have to like work for it because I think my product is worth, you know, saving up for or something like that. But at the same time, in this environment, I feel like a lot of people will see that, they'll see that sentiment and they'll be like, companies, because there's so much competition out there, probably shouldn't be telling their customers to just like suck it up if you're a real fan.
Right.
Because like the amount of money you're willing to spend on something has no correlation to how much of a fan you are of that thing.
Right. Yeah. That's a good
point. Like you can't just say that the biggest fans are the ones that have spent the most money on it, because that's just like a ridiculous statement. There's tons of people who pour like tons of money into a thing and they actually don't end up liking it that much, you know? So that's an insane thing to say. Yeah. Especially now, it's just like it feels really tone deaf.
He kind of missed the point too, where the guy said like he wasn't saying, you know, you Randy Pitchford, you set the prices, don't set it high.
Yeah.
The guy said, you're the CEO, you have some say with the price. And it's like, I'd imagine he could talk to the publisher and be like, we don't want this game, you know, it's such and such price, but it is the publisher's decision at the end of the day. But you would hope he would have some input into that at least, right?
He can definitely be part of that like meeting for sure.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's like, it's just the way in which he said this.
Of course, yeah.
He's not necessarily wrong. It's like, yeah, game prices are kind of lower than they were in the 90s, relatively. But that doesn't, we're all products of the time we live in, right? And game prices went down and we all enjoyed low game prices. And now that they're going up, we don't like that. And, you know, that's equally a valid concern. It's
funny because I actually kind of had a conversation about this with a friend this week. And because they started out saying like, they believed that from a purely mathematical and economic view, the video games right now are underpriced. Like you say, Ryan, like they used to be a lot more expensive relative to the like value of the dollar, right? And like what Randy Pitchford says there in 1991, that game was $80. Like that's crazy. For 1991, $80 for a game, that's crazy. That's an insane price. But then, you know, in like 1993, the average price for a game was about $50. In 2005, and this is in US dollars, as a disclaimer, in 2005, the average was 60. And in 2020, the average was 70. And like $50 in 1993 is about the equivalent of 110 now. So their argument was that like with the tech that's available and like the replayability of games, how long you're playing games for now, a $20 increase in 30 years is pretty low. And I agree for the most part. I think that people have gotten used to games being a certain price for so long, and Americans aren't going to feel this, or rather I should say, Americans are going to feel this sentiment more than other parts of the world, because as in Canada and Australia and parts of Europe and stuff, as the value of the dollar fluctuates relative to the American dollar, our game prices have historically gone up. And so we in Canada have been paying more than $60 for games for like 15 years. Like it's super normal to us to be paying $70, $80, $90 for games now. And it's been that way, but in the States it hasn't. So they're like used to these prices of games being this way for such a long time that of course now if you rock the boat, people are going to be like, whoa, like we've had standardized game prices forever.
Right.
And so like whenever I see people making that argument, I'm always like, with the price of everything else going up, like literally everything across the board in like 20 years, right? If we're talking 2005 to 2025, and people are still expecting $60 US prices for games, what else in the last 20 years has not gone up in price at all?
Yeah.
like name anything that hasn't gone up, especially in entertainment. Like the ticket prices for sports games, the ticket prices for a movie, the going to the theater, playing games, like anything that's consumed, like television, subscription costs or packages, or like streaming services now, or like name anything, right? The fact that game prices have only gone up as much as they have is absolutely an outlier. And the only like semi like legitimate part I see from people who were like complaining about the prices going up is the part where people say, the price of games is going up, but like it's not relative to the cost of living. So like, for example, games in 1993 being $50 or whatever is the equivalent of $110 today, but the cost of living was much lower. And there was also the median like house income would have been lower too. So like the price of a game being as high as it was like it was like a premium experience to an extent, right? And just because the tech wasn't there and there wasn't as much competition, so it was like a unique thing. And I think that it's fair to see prices going up because of a number of reasons based on that. The price of everything else going up. You have to consider that like inflation, obviously, but also the fact that like production costs of things are just going up. And unfortunately, that is, of course, going to eventually trickle down to the cost of the actual product and market. So like, I think a lot of people think that game companies are increasing the prices of games now just because they can, like arbitrarily. And in maybe some cases, I think that might be true, but there's definitely the vast majority of the cases is that their costs are going up. The cost of making the thing is going up. These games are taking longer to make, and so they need to charge more to make the money back. At least at the scale of like AAA studios. Of course, indies aren't subject to that, but we're not talking about indie games right now.
Right. I think, well, Matt, why don't you give your take? I'm not sure if we heard really what you've had to say yet.
Well, I was just going to say that his like original comment is like, it's just like phrased a bit forward. Yeah. It wouldn't have been taken as seriously if he was just like, hey, it's not my call. And unfortunately, this is just the reality of the game industry right now. That would have been like, oh, that sucks. Maybe a couple articles written, but I don't even think we'd be talking about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, it really is like sort of like the bluntness of the way that he said it. I do have a couple of friends though, that like, I think like the $100 mark is just like, that's it for them. Like I have heard like some people say like they can't justify the cost anymore. And so like gaming's out. Like once the games hit 110, it's over. But I mean, at the same time though, like my argument always is like, like if you want to like leave or whatever, like that's totally fine. But did you think that they were going to remain under 100? And I'm talking Canadian dollars right now. Did you think they were going to remain under 100 for your whole life? Because if you're like a boat enthusiast and you need a random part like a light, that's going to be more than $100. And the boat itself is going to be God knows how much. I mean, there's other hobbies that, are less than that. Like you could go fishing and stuff, but like fishing equipment isn't exactly cheap either. And you need to buy consumables like bait and other things like that, line, and probably replace your gear every now and then, or at least keep it maintained. It's like everything kind of costs a bunch. And I'm not saying gaming is the cheapest, but gaming is far from the most expensive. So I don't know what to feel like. I hate that games are going up from a consumer perspective, but also I like what Tim's kind of saying. It's like I expect it because everything else has gone up.
Well, that's kind of the thing, right? As consumers, our job is to get the best product at the lowest price, and so we should feel free to complain about prices going up. And I think it's more part of my frustration with it all is like we never asked for these $200 million budgeted games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It feels like they just did that as an industry and then expected us to pick up the tab. When you have like games that are very successful right now that aren't massively budgeted, and it's like you guys didn't have to do this. No one was asking for these ridiculously priced games, but they just in the industry feel like that's they got to compete, that there's someone else making a better looking game than they're making, and so they got to increase the budget to make better looking games. And it just kind of ballooned out of control, and then we're all now expected to just smile and accept our $100 Canadian video games, right? So that's where I have a little frustration.
I agree with that to an extent. However, I do want to add one thing that it's not even necessarily disagreeing with you. I just think it's a new thing in the gaming industry, short of maybe Steam. So like back in college, which is like 2013 to 15ish in that era. I can't remember exactly when I graduated now. But anyway, in that era, we were, or at least I remember buying like a lot of my console games at the store. And the console games, unless the games were specifically old, and I mean quite old, like a year plus, generally wouldn't have a price drop. And many games who were, several years old or a couple years old still didn't have a price drop. But Steam was a big thing. Like having like the Steam sale was like a big deal where you had 50% off, 40% off, 30, sometimes 80% off, like really crazy deals. And that was like the first time I ever really noticed game sales. And that culture has perpetuated into the console market now, especially with digital games where the Xbox store for Xbox console digital games, as well as Xbox games via the PC launcher, as well as the PlayStation store, of course. And so that is one thing that I did bring up to some of my friends who, were kind of like, not happy with the 110. I was like, you don't, if you're worried about the price, we're no longer stuck at MSRP for long. Really, like I waited less than a year and got Space Marine 2, the Ultimate Edition, for like $47 or like $45 or something like that.
Well, I think that's kind of where I'm at. Whereas like even before this recent batch of price increases, there was like a few like Japanese games that were like 93 something Canadian. I think Forspoken was the first time I noticed that happening, and I did want to buy Forspoken before the reviews came out that it wasn't that great of a game. But I was like, 93 is not a price I'm willing to pay. That's not even $100. It's just $93. And I was like, oh, I'll wait for a sale. And so that's kind of where I'm at now. If all games are going to go to $100 Canadian, I'll just wait a couple months and then buy it on sale. And I have a backlog of like 4 or 5 games right now. I can't play them all at the same time, so why do I need to buy them day one? I might as well just wait. And so that's where I'm at, basically.
Well, that Sean Layden conversation that like you sent me, Ryan, with Justin Legary kind of was interesting to me because like he was kind of complaining and discussing about the 100-hour game now. Like many games that we have now are 100 hours. And I mean, multiplayer games, especially if they're games as a service, are even longer if you stick with them. Yeah. And I mean, Sean Layden was talking to another executive or another staffer of some sort. I can't remember what her name was now, but she said, Sean, like I miss, finishing games. I miss finishing games because like, you'd go and you'd play for like at most like a 30-hour RPG or something like that, or like a 6-hour or 10-hour COD campaign or something, and then that'd be it, right? And you'd be out. Back then, we were kind of churning through games, and it really is a question of like we don't. Like the game budget's ballooned, but the length of the game's also ballooned. So then if you apply what you just said, Ryan, where you're like, hey, I'm just going to buy them as I need them or as sales come up. But even if you just decided, you said, I don't care about the price so much as I'm just not going to mass buy. I'm not going to buy and hold right at like MSRP, like maximum brand new MSRP. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to buy them as I play them. Even then, you're going to catch some sales naturally, or you're going to catch some price drops naturally because the games are so freaking long anyway.
That's what I do,
And any of the games are free now. Like Apex is free, Fortnite's free, Warzone's free. Like there's a lot of free games out there.
One of the problems is with the length of games is like they all became open world games. And with open world games, you spend a lot of time traveling to destinations, or you spend a lot of time like exploring. And then they fill it with a bunch of little micro tasks all over the place, right? And it just balloons the time. And it's like, games were probably shorter because they were more linear,
Yeah. They didn't waste like time as much, so to speak.
Yeah, the original Last of Us is like 10 hours. You know what I mean? And it's heralded as one of the best games ever. And it's like, dense. Do you really need... Yeah. When you make it a big open world game, now all of a sudden it's like, it adds on so many hours, Yeah. And they're all that now. I can't even think of the last game I played that was linear.
I mean, Kayla and I were playing Split Fiction.
Oh yeah, there you go.
And we played through It Takes Two, which I mean are like pretty well regarded games. That studio's definitely well regarded nowadays.
Well, it takes two, one game of the year.
Yeah, so there you go, right? Like they definitely have proven that like there is still the market for not only like couch co-op but kind of contained experiences, right?
Yeah. All right. I don't think there's actually been Xbox and Nintendo have raised their prices, right? I guess we'll just wait to hear from some of the other publishers. I think EA is trying to be good guys, and they're like, we're not raising our prices yet.
Yeah,
I
Well,
imagine
they're in
Sony
a
will.
weird they're in a weird spot though with EA because they are like, yes, those sports games are annual, but those sports games are also very games as a servicey.
Yeah.
So it's like there's probably
Yeah,
a
that's
balance
true.
there where they're like, hey, let's not eat into our
Yeah.
$1 billion.
But we'll see if this catches on and becomes kind of the standard for the next generation. All right, moving on to our next story. Sony discontinuing its PlayStation Stars loyalty program. Have either of you actually used this program?
I have.
Tim, you barely play PlayStation anymore, right? So
I mean, I do. I just don't engage with that really. Like, I think
Yeah.
I used it like maybe twice when it was first introduced, but I honestly kind of forgot about it.
yeah,
PlayStation's not my primary platform for sure.
right. Matt, what about you? What's your history with it?
You guys told me to use it like 2-3 months ago, and I think I claimed a game, and I have enough points to claim another one, and that's it. I don't
definitely
really like
didn't do
follow
that.
it too close, but
This article here is from Mobile Syrup. Sony is sunsetting its PlayStation Stars loyalty program after 3 years. The free program has allowed PlayStation gamers to earn points that can be redeemed towards games, PSN wallet funds, digital collectibles, and other rewards, all through the PlayStation app on mobile. That was another weird thing. It wasn't available on console. You had to do it through the PlayStation app, and maybe that's actually why it's being canceled here. Because I mean, I'd imagine there's a large section of PlayStation gamers that don't use the app.
a lot of
Yeah.
these things are like double incentive though, where it's like Sony wants install base and I want
Yeah.
free games, so therefore there's like an exchange.
So Sony released a statement, quote, since launching the program, we've learned a lot from evaluating the types of activities our players respond best to. And as a company, we're always evolving with players and industry trends. Through this evaluation, we've decided to refocus our efforts and will be winding down the current version of PlayStation Stars. We will continue to evaluate our key findings from this program and are looking into ways to build upon these learnings, end quote. So, as part of the shutdown, PlayStation will no longer be accepting any new Stars members as of May 21st. That's already passed, right? That's over. You can't get in now. Existing members will be able to continue earning points in digital collectibles and leveling up their status for what reason I don't know until until July 23rd, at which time this will no longer be possible. From there, you'll have until November 2nd, 2026 to redeem any accumulated points. Interestingly, the PlayStation blog says this version of PlayStation Stars will fully end on November 2nd, 2026. That seems to suggest other versions might still be in the works. The company did say is looking into ways to build upon these learnings after all. How do you respond with loyalty programs in general? Matt, we've kind of talked a lot about this where it's like oftentimes it's kind of like an arcade where you get tickets and it's like the best prizes are like an obscene amount of points or tickets that no one will ever in their right mind be able to save up for unless they're just spending a buttload of money.
Yeah.
More money than what it costs. Like it's like, oh, that Xbox is up there, you know?
Yeah. But
It's
it's, like
60,000 tickets.
You'd
and
be
it's
faster
like, no
just
one's
to buy
getting
the
it.
Xbox. Yeah.
You'd probably save money and it'd be, yeah.
Yep.
But how do you guys feel about rewards programs in general?
I have only found a couple that have been really worth it, honestly.
I'm definitely one to like look at how worth it they are, because I know some people will like accumulate. I don't know how, like I don't have one off the top of my head, but like if it's like, oh, I gain 5 cents for every $100 spent, it's like I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to remember to bring the card. I'm not going to remember to scan, and I'm not going to worry about this program. But like something like Scene Points back in the day, where it was 1,000
Yeah.
points, I think it was, and you get a movie, it was like, whoa, like I go to 10 movies, I get a free one.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
They always start out really good because they're obviously trying to onboard people,
Yeah.
and then they either like made it too good by accident,
Yeah.
or they realize they got to like pull it back a bit. I don't even think about scene points anymore, Matt. Like they don't even occur to me because they're just kind of useless now. You know, I scan my scene card, but then I'm not really sure what's going on.
Like I think the scene thing is a little bit different in a way, because like the scene card for us is primarily used at the theater, which makes sense. But the scene card program is larger now.
It expanded,
so, like,
yeah.
If you were like, going to those specific restaurants, going to the specific partner stores, and going to the theater, it'd probably be really good. And and this is a speculation, I wouldn't be surprised if some people because there are definitely people who look at reward programs and like really use them. I wouldn't be surprised if people are like, I'm going to change my eating habits. I'm not going to go to this restaurant. I'll go to this one now, and things like that. And they were getting like amazingly good deals. And it's like, whoa, we got to draw this back a bit. Because there was also that credit card that was a scene card. And I don't know how exactly that worked, but like if it was something along the lines of a certain amount of scene points per dollar spent, maybe that's starting to get to the point where like Cineplex is like, whoa, this person's getting like 17 movies free a year or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right, where it's like it's typically only going to benefit the person who's doing all that shopping there anyway, kind of thing. Like a lot of people would harp on the EB Games like trade credit system and would harp on the like the points that you would get on your Edge card and stuff. And again, it was like the only way that system was really like useful was if you're the kind of person where you do absolutely all of your like video game buying and selling at that store specifically, and like trading lots of games in and buying lots of used games. And like, if that was you, it was kind of worth it, but you'd have to be the kind of person who was already going to spend that much money and time, like physically going into a game store in the first place. It's not going to really benefit the average consumer. And that's what I find with a lot of loyalty programs. And I think that it's that way by design, is like, they're not necessarily there to like have so many people like change their spending habits to like go all in on this one place or this one service or store or whatever. It's just kind of there to like keep the people who are already doing that as loyal as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's called the loyalty program, right?
Yeah, I did use PlayStation Stars quite a bit. I did enjoy it. I a lot of the tasks were very simple. A lot of them were just like play this game, play that game, play this game. Sometimes they were unlock this trophy. Sometimes they were purchase a game, which always sucked. So here's my biggest problem. I do pre-order games, and I usually do buy like the hot new game coming out. So I would have already purchased the game, but then the Stars campaigns would update and say purchase, like, let's say, I don't know what's the last
Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Purchase Assassin's Creed Shadows. It's like I already purchased it and it doesn't unlock for me.
Yep, I hated that too. Yeah,
and so I'm almost being punished for pre-ordering. You know what I mean? And it's like that doesn't make sense. Like why doesn't it retroactively give that to me? Or if you already have the trophy, if you already unlocked the trophy on some game they say get a trophy on, then what do? It's like, well, that sucks too. Another problem I have with it is that it's not on the PlayStation, which is dumb. It should be available to access on the PlayStation. I think a lot more people probably would have used it if that was the case. But yeah, I don't know what they learned from this. The rewards are very NFT-like as well. They're not, to be clear, but they came out at the time when everyone was like anti-NFT, and they felt very NFT, and it almost feels like tinfoil hat. It's like Sony might have planned for these to be NFTs, and then all the hatred came out, and they're like, they ain't NFTs, they're just digital collectibles.
They're just some JPEGs, yeah.
but Matt, if you did want to spend your points before the thing gets shut down, there is a Deacon St. John enamel pin you can unlock for 800 points.
But like, where does that go after the program shuts down?
That's a good question. What happens to all my collectibles? Because I do have quite a few.
Probably disappears.
Are you trying to say that an NFT is not a worthwhile investment?
Here, can you guys see this? Can you guys?
That's Ryan's NFT right there.
Look at
that Deacon St. John.
Deacon St. John.
That's Deacon St. John right there.
Wait for him to come around again. They're nice, like little 3D models. Like it's got all the reflectivity on it. They look really nice, but they're useless. They're really useless.
Yeah, it's like again they're perpetuating this thing in the modern era where it's like digital ownership in quotes is not true ownership, because if the service shuts down or the server dies or the company goes under, it's like you don't own anything.
Yeah.
You have a license to access something for a period of time that can be arbitrarily taken away at any point. And I mean, I don't think too many people are putting a ton of value on digital version of an enamel Deacon St. John pin in a PlayStation app, but it's the precedent of the thing, right? It's like, how far does this concept get pushed?
Well, you can't even show it off. You can't even like. I don't think
It's
there's a
not
way
even
for you to
bragging
see what I've unlocked and to be like, oh, look at Ryan. He has all these unlocks. It's like you can't even see that.
You
So
know,
it's like
a
I'm just
little-
looking at them, being like, oh, look at my sad life. Looking at my digital collection of items. You know,
Like,
I was
this would
thinking
be-
this, like, you've unlocked it, but who's sitting there in the app looking through their collection like, God damn, look at all these shiny things, you know?
they even like have you build like a shelf and you can put all your stuff on it.
And who's doing that?
I did
Like,
it, but
I'm sure people
why?
I'm sure people are, but who's doing it for more than like a couple of weeks, maybe months at most?
yeah.
Like, unless there's
Yeah.
people that like started doing it ironically because they're like, this is so silly. Look at me pretending to be using this thing the way it was intended to be used, and then they're just like, oh, I've actually done it enough now that I kind of feel like an attachment to it.
The,
But, like,
the
it's-
best value. Okay.
I was just saying, it's not going to be the most. It's not the majority of the market.
The best value out of it is the wallet funds because that's just straight cash you can get back. So it's like a rewards program where you get cash back, which you can spend on PlayStation games, right? They also will sell virtual currency for in-game things. Like you can buy like Helldivers, like super credits, stuff like that. Those make the most sense to me, at least the most value to me. Like most of the games you can buy in here are pretty small games or old games or little tiny games, you know.
Dave the Diver was in there. That was pretty good.
Yeah, they had some good ones every now and then, but
I was actually going to speculate, like, well, like I think that shelf and the not NFT JPEG things or whatever models would be cool if we still had a PlayStation Home, because then you would like decorate your little apartment thing, assuming PlayStation Home took off, like assuming we're in a PlayStation Home future. But the one thing that I was wondering is, and this is complete speculation, when they say a new version of PlayStation Stars, PlayStation is the only console that still gives you free games each month.
yeah.
Are they going to say,
Yeah.
okay, that's it, PlayStation Plus games are gone, the little like models are gone, we're going to have a point system and you get to claim free games, if you purchase games and do our like challenges.
Now that you brought it up, it is interesting that PlayStation Plus is still around, especially when they have like a Game Pass competitor with PlayStation Plus Premium and Extra.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they must still see a value to it, right? It has to make sense for them to keep it around. But yeah, I could definitely see them getting rid of it and making it a different rewards program.
Because Xbox has that, right? Like Microsoft Rewards, which goes beyond Xbox, but still
Do you
includes
use
Xbox.
those?
Yeah, I use Microsoft Rewards. I'm fully indoctrinated into the Microsoft system. Like I
guess
use
you're
Microsoft apps like 89% of the time. So
Yeah, you're paying for the big old subscription. You're probably getting some decent points, right?
I'm pretty sure I have every single subscription that Microsoft offers, sort of like Azure.
Yeah.
But I also, to be fair, I also use the absolute shit out of all of them. So
Yeah. All right. Final story for the week. Xbox bringing dozens of retro titles to Game Pass. This is also from Mobile Syrup. They've partnered with retro games platform Antstream Arcade to bring dozens of classic titles to its own Game Pass service. Dubbed Retro Classics, the new initiative sees over 50 classic Activision games from the 80s and 90s joining the Game Pass catalog, including Commando, Pitfall, Grand Prix, Kaboom, and MechWarrior 2, 31st Century Combat. 31st century. Oh my god.
yeah, they're in the deep future, man.
Yeah.
There will be
Holy man.
robots.
Retro Classics will be available on all Game Pass platforms, including Xbox consoles, PC, and devices that support Xbox Cloud Gaming. On console and PC, you can install Retro Classics as an app through their Game Pass membership. Xbox says this is just the beginning for Retro Classics, with plans to expand the service's library to more than 100 titles over time. Retro Classics is now available through Game Pass. I was wondering if this is, what didn't Xbox say they wanted to? They were concerned about game preservation and they wanted to invest in that kind of stuff. Could this kind of be part of it?
I don't remember them. I don't remember them specifically saying it. I don't remember somebody saying it. It could have been them, but
Phil Spencer might have said it.
I know that like GOG had that whole program that spun up, where they were like keeping certain games like working on modern hardware and things like
What
that.
they call that? Yeah.
Good old games or something. Like, it was
No,
something-
that might have been. It might have been good old game. Yeah, this is like a good old game.
Yeah, it was like some sort of play on their actual name. But this Retro Classics collection, like we were talking about it, and we thought it was just going to be like Atari, and maybe it is mostly, but this is a weird like personal thing, but I noticed that Caesar 2 is on there, and I had Caesar 2 that I bought from a yard sale when I was younger, and my uncle and I like hacked it to run on my computer, and I could play everything in the game except for the combat. So I had to play the game like super peacefully, and I couldn't really do too much in the overworld because there would always be a combat section, and then the game would crash. So now I'm excited to experience the whole game of Caesar 2 for the first time, to actually give it a try. I've never even seen like what it looks like. I've never seen screenshots of the combat or anything. It's just I usually just kind of build the city, and that was it.
That has to be a unique experience. Like there cannot be that many people out there who had that experience.
No, I don't think so, because I also had like a pretty broken ass like Caesar 2 was like super old. I think it's like DOS. And then I had like Windows 98 second edition, and that computer was old at the time. So I had like kind of like a broken old ass computer trying to run an even older game that we had to like hack together. It was just a mess. So I'm excited to give it a try.
How are you guys with like old games like that, like 80s kind of games? Are you guys able to play those?
Not for an extended period of time, honestly. I think that like obviously games back then are a lot more simple than ones now, like even less complicated than a lot of mobile games. But like some of them do kind of strike that perfect balance of like fun and like kind of infinitely replayable. And usually those are the ones that are either based on or emulate some facet of like a arcade game where they were kind of literally designed to be played over and over again. Or they're like so hard that you have to get that like one perfect run to be able to make any progress, or just played enough that you get good at it, right?
Yeah.
So it definitely depends on the game for me.
Yeah, there is like well, I think it was actually you guys when we were doing the stream where like I have an Atari 2600, and like some of this stuff like it's so old because they're so simple, and like kind of like the stuff that Tim was saying where you can't play it for like super long. But like for me, if I want to go back that far, like I'm going there for the nostalgia, not even the nostalgia, because it wasn't even live. It was like I'm going there for the retro
experience.
the retro experience. So like I'd rather just play it on a real controller, and like if I can a real console. Obviously, an Atari 2600 is not in stores now, regularly kind of thing. But like,
well, it kind of is
with the I guess like with
they sell that unit, that small. I have one in my little storage there. It's like a new old console.
Wait, not the Android one though, right? Like not the actual
No.
Atari Android one.
It's an Atari 2600, and I think it can play original cartridges.
Oh,
but
that's
it comes with
pretty
like a cartridge with like a couple dozen games on it or something.
Okay, but like, see, like, so even that would be cool. Like, I would prefer to play like with the old joystick and stuff like that, just because like these games are so simple.
Man, I want to buy Atari. I want to own Atari.
Like the whole, you want to buy the whole company.
Yeah, because I just think it's like they're missing an opportunity for greatness, and it just kills me. And I just like it because like they're kind of like the grandfather of gaming, and I just feel like they should have a bigger presence than they currently have, and they don't.
I mean, we stand on the shoulders of giants, right?
Yeah,
and
it's
necessarily
the
have to be
classic.
relevant forever.
It's the classic thing wherever you like pioneer in some industry isn't usually the one that makes the biggest success.
Yeah.
But I just feel like even Sega's a bigger publisher than they are. Why can't Atari just be a publisher? Start buying some studios, make some games, modern AAA games. Start doing it, and they just don't. They just keep making their old weird Android box, and it's very strange what they're doing.
I looked this up briefly, and it says here, I don't know why it went. I just Googled. This is Google.com. I just typed in Atari net worth, and I don't know why it went this way, but it like the AI overview says Atari SA, the current owner of the Atari brand, had a net income of negative 8.3 million euros in 2024. Their total assets were 64.5 million euros, and the total equity was 0.3 million euros in the same year. Now there's a little bit of a breakdown here. This is for 2024 again. Net income again negative 8.3 million euros. Total assets 6 whatever. Total equity and liabilities 78.1 million euros, and total equity 6.8 million euros. I don't know why like this, like how is this going to help me just be like, hey man, like this is how much Ryan needs to pay to sorry.
Just how much are they worth?
I just wanted a simple. Oh, here. This is according to stockanalysis.com. I don't know when this was. Oh, here it is. Atari has a market cap or net worth of 60.14 million as of May 20th, 2025, and I believe that is US dollars.
I mean, that's out of my range, but like that it's not crazy. You know what I mean?
I will say this though, Ryan, its market cap has increased by 27.75% in 1 year.
All right. Oh, well, okay. I should have done it last year then, is what you're saying.
Yeah. You missed the opportunity. You could have went in there and been like 40 million. I got 25 million. I got you.
Copilot says it's worth 80.13 million US as of May 2025. This
That's not
places
good
it
because this other website, and this is not the AI, this is the actual website says otherwise.
I was going to
Okay,
say,
well.
so what we're learning here is that these AI information aggregates are not actually reliable for information. Wow.
Wait. It says, however, another source lists Atari's market cap at $58.9 million.
Well, actually,
and yet another estimate has
now
it
that
at
you've looked it up
63 million.
elsewhere. It's like, wait, I could do better.
I was going to ask if, I mean, this is not an investing podcast, but I was going to ask if market cap and stuff like that is an estimate.
Not usually, because they know how many shares a company lets out, right?
Okay.
And they know how much a share is worth. However, I think it is an estimate to a point, because I think because I follow Apple like somewhat closely, and like every time like Apple has like an earnings report, like they release how many shares are out there,
Okay.
and then I think people like readjust it or whatever. I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, and I was incorrect. It was the thing I read was not in dollars. I didn't realize there's a small thing here that says the
Euros?
price is in euros. Yeah.
So this has euros at 58.36 million euros, approximately $63 billion.
See, man, you missed your opportunity, Ryan. You could have got it for.
I just want an Atari comeback. That's all I want.
Coulda-
They could. There's a bunch of indie studios that always pop up. There's like studios that like form from other studio developers, and just buy those guys or just publish their games. Get in it. Get back in the game, man. Hashtag bring back Atari. No one uses hashtags anymore, but anyway.
I remember Atari published Driver 3,
Yeah, there you go.
and that didn't do so well.
No. All right, that's it for the news. Hopping into what we're playing. Matt.
Me?
Wait, what are you playing? What are you getting into?
So actually, I beat Gangs of London on my PSP. So that game is now complete. The ending kind of dragged on a little bit, but if you're looking to play,
Damn.
if you're looking to play your PSP, because I was playing it like a little more than occasionally. But if you're looking to play your PSP, like, you know, for the traditional like use case of like, I'm waiting for the bus and I'm going to play, it's kind of like the perfect like GTA but short form game where there's driving missions, there's shooting missions, there's a little bit of stealth, not much, and there's just like like enough variety, and the missions are, you know, sometimes 4 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes kind of thing, and easy enough to put the PlayStation in hold mode, even the PSP in hold mode, and hold your mission progress if you need to in the middle of a mission, and it was pretty good for that. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for sitting down and doing several missions in a row, which is what I did a couple of times. And then I ceased doing that and started just doing one or two at a time because it just started becoming really monotonous. But pretty dang good, actually, for the sake of it. I think on playlist, I want to say I gave it an 8, maybe a 7. So definitely a good one. It was an early PSP title as well. So pretty impressive. Really only had one mission and only one time did it ever have a frame rate hiccup, and it recovered really quick. So pretty impressive there. I am playing on a PSP 3000. The other thing I did this week was I did a mission or two of Space Marine 2, and I'm getting kind of into that. And enjoying just kind of playing that one piecemeal, not sitting down and kind of doing binge session, just sort of like chipping away at it, and coming back like maybe once a week or so and just sort of like completing a mission here and there. So that's been pretty fun. Did a little bit of Apex, just did a couple hours of that, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours of that. I don't know if we got any wins this week, but I was firing at all cylinders and actually got like 1,600 damage, which is like unheard of for me. So that's pretty good for me anyway. And I did something. Oh, we did a fair bit of Fortnite actually here and there. We did some Fortnite playing the that Star Wars update. The Star Wars season, whatever it is. That's pretty cool. I still enjoy the fact that we just all have blasters and don't have to worry about ammunition and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's pretty dang fun. I do. This is going to be slightly controversial, like in-game wise. I do wish that the mystic weapons or mythical, whatever they are mythic, are not as good. We're not as good as they are. And the reason why I say that is because it just feels like if someone goes for the mythic weapon, it's like a guaranteed win for them almost. Like it just feels like the scale of weapons should be a little closer. That's totally personal preference though. Like I understand why they have obviously a big disparity because there's like gray and then green and then blue and then purple and then the legendary and then mythic, or like there's orange, which is legendary, and then mythic. So I totally get why there is quite a disparity, but I would prefer for them to be more squished. Personal preference, but just something that I would prefer. But no, the Star Wars update is pretty good. I haven't been getting fatigued of it. I also haven't been doing any of the quests because I don't care. So my exposure to Star Wars is like, I like the aesthetic and stormtroopers are cool, I guess. And like, that's it's like a very little kid mentality, but like, that's my Star Wars exposure. So, yeah, I don't know. It's been fun. And other than that, just a little bit of Oblivion Remastered. Been kind of chipping away at that one. Just tried to bring Joffrey and Martin to Cloud Ruler Temple. And the reason why I'm saying that is because they are stuck and I can't get them to go through the door no matter what I do. So I'm trying something, but I can't get through it. I'm having a major issue where I am massively over encumbered. I'm massively over encumbered. Well, I'll just go on PC and use a console command. I'm massively over encumbered and I like can't like freely move around too easily. So my current status is it was like super late at night. So in real life, so I retreated to Bruma and then dropped a save. And I hope to like very slowly walk to a general store to sell my loot so that I can more freely move and try to get these friggin' NPCs to go through the door.
God.
Classic fucking Oblivion bullshit. But I've been having a lot of fun with it. It's just been a great little like revisit. I want to get like more into it. I've just been like running around quite a bit the last couple of weeks, but I want to get like more into it. So I think that's going to become like my main quote unquote game, single player game for a while. And that's pretty much it. That's been my week.
Nice. Tim?
Yeah, like I said before, we were kind of off for like vacation this week, so I haven't been doing anything on stream. But in my own time, I mean, it was the case while I was streaming anyway. I was mostly doing Oblivion Remastered. I kind of had my character that was on stream is more of like a heavy armor, like maces and axes kind of character with some like, I was trying to go full kind of tank character. Not that the game is that difficult damage wise anyway, but just for sort of the aesthetic more than anything. Going with like, if I was doing any magic, it was all the utility stuff and like, shielding stuff or like crowd control type of stuff more than like anything damage. And then restoration. So like my character is like pretty much unstoppable with how much spell absorb and like damage reflect and stuff that he's got. And I'm only playing on the normal difficulty because apparently the way that the difficulty scaling works in the remaster is really like you turn it up one notch and it's way too much more difficult than normal, and if you turn it down one notch it's way too easier than normal. So apparently there are already a number of mods out there that address the difficulty to make it kind of scale a bit better because of course fucking modders always seem to solve problems that the game devs seem to have.
Bizarre.
Which is funny because it's not Bethesda, it's Virtuos.
Yeah.
But they're still kind of having the same issues. And I think somebody like did the math on it and they were like, the remaster, it does the difficulty the same way that Skyrim does, where you have like the normal is adept and then you've got expert and then you've got master and then easier is, I don't know, is apprentice or something. I don't know. And novice. It's the same way that Skyrim does it, but in original Oblivion, it was a slider that was much more granularly like adjustable. I think it might have even been a slider from like a 1 to 100% kind of thing, like enemies would have, or maybe it was like 50% at the bottom end and then like 150% at the higher end, something like that. But I do remember with how punishing Oblivion was with its original like leveling system, that as a kid I often had to turn the difficulty way down because things as I was leveling up were just so tanky and spongy that like for a fight to even be remotely like enjoyable, let alone winnable, with my super unoptimized character, I kind of had to like turn the difficulty way down for it to even be reasonable. of course, now that problem is kind of resolved with the new leveling up system for your attributes and stuff. But it seems that the difficulty slider portion, for the purposes of it being like kind of simplified, actually makes it kind of unusable, because on master difficulty, things have like, I think, over 200% health and they do like 6 times damage or something like that. Like it's not, it just makes them way spongier and hit way harder. So it's not like, it's not necessarily going to be like harder because it's actually like harder and you need to like strategize better. It's just enemy hit harder and take less damage. But anyway,
I was gonna say you're gonna have to like retreat, like go to the mission, see what's up, go back home, and then get specific gear for whatever you saw. Like it was a necromancer, I got like anti-necromancer gear.
Yeah, and I think like to an extent that can be fun and engaging, but I would say that like the AI of Oblivion is not up to snuff in that regard, where it's like that will be like characters, NPCs aren't going to play to their strengths or take advantage of your weaknesses. So like it's really just going to basically come down to like you versus the choice of what is the most effective damage type for this particular encounter. Like, what do I know about the game with these enemies that have certain resistances, and how can I like avoid that as much as possible? But I mean, overall, like the like Matt said, the return to it is kind of nice. It's very like, it's familiar, but it's like different enough with the new coat of paint that it's like interesting and engaging. And I'm kind of just curious to see like what's different from what I remember. I was saying my stream character is kind of heavy armor, more tanky, and then my off stream character is kind of just like a classic like stealth archer, but with lots of magic. And I've gotten to the point now where with the equipment that I have and the buffs that I can like put on my character, I can get my speed well over 250 now, and my acrobatics also to about 250. So I like the traversal in that game, where you can just like run across water and you're like sprinting at insane speeds, and you can jump over buildings and stuff, is just like super fun to rip around in. And I'm like, man, it's crazy how this is just base game and you can't do anything close to this in Skyrim. Like the way that people disparage Oblivion for being different from Morrowind, it's like the same from Oblivion to Skyrim, in that like with the goal of it being more streamlined, a more readable, interpretable RPG, you lose a lot of the like more complicated mechanics, like the spell crafting. And because of that, you lose a lot of the like goofiness and jankiness. Like, not that Skyrim necessarily takes itself very seriously, but I feel like it takes itself way more seriously than Oblivion did. Like they knew their shit was like ridiculous at the end, and they're like, they embraced it, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting that like Fallout 76 embraced it again, where they have those serums for various mutations, like marsupial, for example, which like allows you to jump like super, super high and things like that. There's like a speed demon one. There's like a whole bunch of them, like a brainiac one or something like that, makes you smarter and things. It's just interesting that like Fallout, I mean, I guess following makes sense with mutations, but I mean, they could have taken it more serious, and they just kind of didn't, and it kind of went back to that. So I'm kind of wondering what Elder Scrolls 6 is going to do. Like, are they going to allow you to be like a crazy fantasy character again?
The one drawback that is still in Oblivion, maybe not the one, but a very notable one that a lot of people have talked about, and there are already mods to kind of get rid of it, is the leveled loot system, where if you know the game, you kind of want to like put off doing certain quests, because the reward that you get will be like a leveled version for whatever's appropriate for your character at the time. So if you do like one mission and then they give you and assuming there's no level requirement on it, and then the reward you get is like a particular short sword, for example, if you do that at level 5, it's going to be like a short sword with, you know, some decent elemental damage, or kind of some like low elemental damage, we'll say, like the lowest it could be. And then if you do it again at like level 25 or 30, it's like a far superior version of the same thing. And so kind of the min-maxers and metagamers will be like, oh, I'm not going to do this quest, even though I want to do it because it's fun, because my character's not a high enough level that like the reward that I would get will be worth it and then usable into the end game. Although by the time that you get there, you're already in the end game. But the way that sort of backfires in particular, and I do wonder if the mod that like removes the level loot for equipment and stuff, I wonder how it applies for this particular scenario. So there's a quest that you can do that's like tangentially related to the Mages Guild, where you can get you like work with this other person who's like kind of working against the wishes of the Mages Guild, where she's trying to research into this particular location and she wants to get research into this book, and the Mages Guild is telling you like not to do it because it's dangerous and they need to keep this book under lock and key, and you can choose to like help her do it, and if you do go through with the whole thing, you get like a pretty powerful offensive spell out of it, and that spell will always be leveled, like the strength of it will be leveled to what your character is. And so I just did that quest as a level 32 character, 33, which in original Oblivion is like pretty much end game. Like you're not really going to be able to get much higher than like 35, 36 in the original. And that's if you like min-max your character. And so the version of the spell that I have does 200 damage at like a long range. However, it costs, and I have 100 destruction skill for context, which means that all destruction spells will be the cheapest to cast that they can be. This spell costs 710 magicka to cast, which, unless you've specifically built your character with like race, star sign, and a bunch of like equipment to increase your magical pool, 710 is completely unattainable.
It's crazy high. Yeah.
Like even with all the buffs and stuff that I had with like gear and the spells that I could cast on this character where I did not build for like having as high magic as possible, the highest I can get is like 498, I think. So it's like not even close to over 700. And it's funny that it's the same as the base game to me, where I was like, this is a quest that I knew of. I knew what the reward was and I knew how it worked. And I would always endeavor to do it around like levels 15 to 20, because that's where it's like really strong, but it doesn't have such a high magicka cost that you can't use it, which is like the version that I have now, right? Where it's like, it's gone beyond good. It's insane. And because of that, it's unusable.
Yeah.
Unless I specifically built my character for it. And like it's on one hand it's cool that it's like that, because it's like a reward for if you did build your character that way. It's like, yeah, I have a character who can cast this spell that is literally uncastable by a huge portion of like player characters. And that's sort of like, you know, it's validating, it's gratifying for your play style, right? And that's cool that it's kind of locked behind that. But it is also like really funny to me that if you put this quest off long enough, you can get this reward that even with like being like, oh damn, okay, that's a requirement, and then trying to build towards it, you still can't attain it. And it's like, you can't really do anything about it at that point. Like you just would have needed to have picked a different star sign that gives you a bigger like base magical pool.
Yeah, it's like, well, because I did that as a kid too. I got it like too far in the game, and I didn't understand scaling. But I always thought it was like, that's what the Mages Guild was trying to tell me, was like, holy crap, this thing is so powerful, but I can't cast it. And like,
it's so powerful, and it even takes the like most dedicated, you know, wizard or magician to even be able to cast it in the first place, which ironically makes it less dangerous because you can't even do it, so you're not a threat.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I feel like that lady that wants it is not going to be capable of casting it.
Yeah.
But you got Chillrend like later, and I made the mistake of like doing like, so I did the Odil farm because I was just kind of wandering around the game at an early level like a few weeks ago now, and there was like a random guide on Game Rant or something, and they were like, man, you better do the Odil farm, because in the remake, if you wait really like long and you wait till you're higher level, the like actual battle becomes like not manageable. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
I forgot it was Chillrend. Like I was just like, oh, I better go do the Odil farm. I did it. And I was like, oh yeah, sweet. I got this weapon. I was using it for a while. And then I was like, shit, this is probably going to be like a level, you know, whatever it was, 6 or 10 weapon. And then you got it like more recently, Tim, like at a higher level. And you're like, man, this thing's awesome. And I'm like, fuck, I'm about to throw mine away.
And like, I think a lot of people hate it I think that it's a fine enough system because like when a game like Oblivion comes out, I don't think that they expected the like most players to try to like do everything with one character.
Yes,
Like
true.
they want your different playthroughs to be different, right? And of course people are going to optimize the crap out of a game after it's been out long enough, but in the early days when you don't really know necessarily like how those systems work, and you don't know that if you like are a higher player level when you do a thing, then you'll get like a higher level reward for it. That's all part of that like sense of discovery, right? As you're playing through the game and learning things. But yeah, for me it was always like if I do this quest too early, yeah, I'll get like for my level a very good reward out of it. However, I'm going to outlevel it at a certain point, and I guess you just kind of need to at that point be like, am I okay with that or not? And that's just going to come down to the player, right? Because then you could be like, yeah, but by the time that I outlevel this thing and I can find other gear that's better, now I'm a higher level, which means if I do another quest that gives me a weapon as a reward, then that one's going to be good for now. But I also absolutely understand the like desire for having the like removing the leveled loot mod because people want to just do a thing and like get a good version of that item. I haven't downloaded the mod, so I don't know how it works, but I would almost kind of like a version of that mod where you get to choose what level everything is always at.
Oh, that'd be cool. Okay.
Instead of it being like just the best version of everything all the time, because then your low level characters are going to be like insanely overpowered in a game that's already pretty easy with the remastered way they handle the leveling. But if I could set it to where like everything was like the level 15 or 20 version of stuff across the board, that would be cool because then the early game is kind of easy, but then the end game is kind of harder. But you have the other skills and maybe spells or magic or other equipment to like make up for it.
It'd almost be nice even to like because Skyrim introduced like blacksmithing. Be really cool if you were able to even blacksmith things where you
like
go and
reforge them, make them stronger.
Yeah, it's like, okay, like your chill rend is like a level 5 and there's 3 more tiers. It's expensive. Maybe it's a bunch of like frost salts or whatever. But like if you earn those frost salts, you take it to like, you know, the blacksmith or you do it yourself and you like forge it to be 2 levels higher or whatever it can be.
Yeah. Yeah, being able to upgrade equipment's always like, as you go through the game is always cool, especially if it's like a unique thing. And JRPGs do that a lot where it's like, a lot of the time the like worst piece of crap in the game or your like starting weapon or whatever can be upgraded in the same way that like every other weapon you find can be upgraded. And then you look at the stats with the upgrade and it's like, it's not worth it. Like it's going to get like 1 or 2 more damage and I can use the same resources on this other weapon that's like baseline quality way higher and I'm going to get +5 damage out of it. So why would I bother upgrading the lower level one? And then you realize if you do upgrade it all the way, it gets this unique thing where it's like now if you find this like legendary material, your starting weapon can become like this god slaying blade or whatever, and it becomes one of the most powerful weapons in the game. And I always really liked that like trope where it's like, oh yes, humble beginnings, but this weapon has been with you the entire game, and then now you're at the end game and you can make this strongest secret weapon after bathing it in the fires of the volcano and stuff. And it's like it's applying that sense of like, you know, getting better over time from your character, but to your like equipment as well. It's anyway, it's mostly been Oblivion.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Oblivion for me too. Oh, sorry, Matt.
What? Oh, I was just gonna say it's just like the dedication to your like gear like pays off.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
Oblivion for me too. I mean, I've just been playing Oblivion. Just I don't know. I haven't had the I've had the time. Like I had a whole 3-day weekend last week and just never picked it up and stuff. So I'm gonna try to get back on it, and Lord knows I need to clear out some of these games. So
have you been clearing out something else? Like, is that what you were picking up?
No, just not really been single player gaming. Part of this weird trend of being 32 going on 33. So
is that a thing? Like widespread single player gaming outage for ages 32 going on 33. Like
I don't know. It's just kind of like, well, you know, you just change and your things you want to do change, and
you have other obligations and stuff. Oh yeah, never mind.
Yeah. But yeah, I want to get back on it. It's definitely kind of fun. I did just get the skeleton key, I kind of fast track that one because
Yeah, it's a big help.
lockpicking is pain in my butt.
Like, I used to love the Oblivion lockpicking system, but it's like when you have to do it 50% of the time you come across a container or a door, it's like, bro, this is so tedious.
So fucking tedious.
Like Fallout 3, the fact that they used Fallout 3 system in like Skyrim and everything afterwards is like, as much as I love the Oblivion system, thank you, because good God, like if I'm going to need to do it that many times, give me a quick mini game to do. Even the fucking lockpicking in like Rocky City is kind of superior because it's like, it's enough of a little mini game, but it also takes time. And like if somebody sees you doing it, it's like there's that balance there, right?
It's a little more accurate actually too to how actual lockpicking works, where you need to get the pins lined up with the cylinder,
the right height, yeah. Which you would have. You obviously don't have like a cross-cut view of a lock when you're lockpicking it, but yeah.
It would actually be kind of interesting if they kind of combined the two, the Skyrim one and or I guess it's the Fallout one and the Oblivion one, where it's like you still had the straight on view of the lock, but you had to do several
turns.
Yeah, because you have multiple pins in a lock. It's not just one. Like
there is a game I played that did that. It was like a 3D like cross section. I can't friggin' remember what game it was, but that's exactly what it was.
I was gonna say, I've seen a lot of lockpicking systems in a lot of different games, and they're all fairly similar because they're all obviously basing it off of the same concept. And there was one that was like that, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but it's like a straight on view, and there's like multiple circles around the like lockpicking thing that you're doing, and you have to like line up with the one, and then you click, and then you have to turn it the other way for like the more like outer circle, and then click, and then there's another outer circle that lines up, and it just keeps going like, further and further out. Starfield's was similar, but that was kind of like a puzzle matching game, which I've also seen other games do for lockpicking. But what's funny is with Skyblivion, they also redid the lockpicking minigame, where it's like, I can't remember exactly. I saw it in one of the dev diaries, and I can't remember exactly how it works. It is available now, though, for you if you're playing Skyrim. You can just download the Skyblivion lockpicking minigame replacement mod on its own, so you can play with it now if you want to. But I think they said it's sort of like a hybrid between the two, where it's like you have this 3D model, this like 3D render of the lock with the different pins and stuff. And I can't remember how it's almost like a 3/4 view look of this like 3D render of a lock. And I can't remember exactly what the like, I think maybe you just like lift the pin up and down with like your mouse until it like lines up with the right spot and it jiggles or it turns green or something. And then you click and then it locks that one in place. And then you move over and you go up or down to the right spot. It's like kind of like Rocky City, where you just have to hold it at the right spot and click. But it looks really pretty, and it's like way faster than the Oblivion system. So I think that's the biggest thing for me with the Oblivion system is like, we all have shorter attention spans now. And it's like, I don't really need to be spending this much time on a thing unless it's like, I'm doing a thing for Thieves Guild, and the main story of the Thieves Guild here like literally only progresses if I go through this door, which is locked. And so I have to take the time to do it. And sort of helps you kind of get that sense of like, oh, I'm breaking into a spot I really shouldn't be. I got to take the time to do this like right. But once you've played a couple 100 hours of Oblivion, you're just over it. Like,
they should have a timer at the end that showed you how long you spent lockpicking.
Oh no!
And just be like, there you go. That's your life.
Everyone's game would be, or everyone's like time would be forever because the game demands it so much.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for me. Tim, where can they see you streaming? You getting back into it next week?
Yeah, I should be live again next week. I was kind of sick for a little while too, so this vacation wasn't the most restful, but I should probably be back at least a couple of times this week, twitch.tv/the sidetrack, where, like I said, we're mostly doing Oblivion, but we're kind of doing some one-offs of different things here and there with some friends or some different styles of games. It's a good time. And then, like I said, doing Rocky City on Wednesday nights.
Well, we finished it, so I don't know if we're going to kind of go back and try it at a higher difficulty, or, I mean, we got some serious views last time. We got six people watching those.
We've maxed out at 8 one time on Rocky.
That's wild.
It's been fun.
But yeah, twitch.tv/DamonPatchMedia, Wednesdays 9 p.m. Eastern. All right, thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.
Hey yo, peace.